I'll call this special meeting of council to order February 2nd, 2026 at 4 p.m. I'd just like to make a note that Charlie Dixon is at the media desk with Mike. He's going to be working at the Progress for the next month. So Charlie was here a couple years ago and did a great job for us. So we're happy to have him back at Aticookans. So second order of business is disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. It can be declared now or anytime during the meeting. Seeing none, we will move to finance. 2026 budget discussion, and I will turn it over to Brandy.
Okay, so if you recall, the mayor used strong powers and gave us direction to prepare a budget that conforms with best practices we've used in past years, not to reduce any service levels, and to come in at 2% tax rate increase. So that's what I'll be presenting today. Usually the first budget meeting, I generally go over kind of the normal. I go over what our asset management plan recommendations for capital is: a 0.2% tax increase for 20 years, water 3.7 for 20 years, sanitary 5.5 for 20 years, waste management 3.2 for 20 years. And then in addition to that, inflation increase for existing and future capital budgets, reallocation of any debt cost reductions to infrastructure, and commit all OCIF and federal gas tax to infrastructure, which we always conform to. So a couple of the big items, our long-term debt, we finally paid off our CMHC Main Street grant. So our grant, sorry, debentures. So that will save us this year $404,000. Our funding increased by $200,000 and $400. Our DSAB estimates are up about $42,000. Our OPP contract is up about $81,000. Our health unit levy is only up about $6,500. Our insurance basically stayed the same, give or take $500. And our water and sewer rate increase will generate about $78,000. Our levied roll, returned roll, our levied roll for 2025 was $9,057,586. Our returned roll was $91,09,444. So that resulted in an increase of $51,858, or a 0.57 tax decrease. This year, a 1% levy increase will result in $91,000 with a notional rate increase of 1.23.
Yes, Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. Brandy, if you would do this dumb old boy a favor and tell me what page you're on, what page we're on, please.
This is just discussion points, so I don't have.
Okay.
I didn't distribute that. So these are just kind of highlights of this budget.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so once everything is said and done, this ended up way better than I anticipated. I thought it would be more money from reserves, but because of all the extra revenue we've had this year and last year, the debt reductions, we were going to be taking way less from reserves than I expected. So I'm assuming the best place to start. So basically, when it comes to operations, it's status quo. no major increases. The only increases, any major increases, I did put on the capital sheet at the bottom. So if you look at the big papers, so on page 2 are kind of any extra projects or any operational differences more than like $5,000. I've outlined in there what that is. But for the most part, operations are just status quo, nothing major. Capital is extremely larger than our normal budgets. This is the biggest capital budget I've ever done. It's finishing our last year's project and then also new projects. Now, most of the money we're taking out of reserves are from last year's projects that were incomplete, and then we're also going to use all of the federal gas tax and all of the OCIF, and leaving more money in reserves than I had originally anticipated. So normally, the best place to start is capital projects. Does anybody have any questions about any of the projects we have in the current budget? The one project I will point out is the splash pad. That is still in the middle of grant applications and reviewing costs and that sort of thing. So that one is the one most likely to change.
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. This would be a question for Tyler, sorry. Tyler, there was no patching done this year because of the price and ran out of season. Is that monies from last year going to be applied to this year's patching?
Yeah, you can see we have 400,000 in there for patching this year, so that's 200 from last year and then a new 200 from this year.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilor Lyons.
Thank you. Question for Brandy. On here we have the splash pad and bathroom and the donations being 150,000 and reserves 9,000. Is the 9,000 the local fundraising that's been done towards the splash pad and such?
Yes, I believe it was fundraising and another donation. Just let me double check here. And I apologize for being a little clunkier than usual, but I forgot to bring a laptop today. Yeah, so 5,000 of that was budgeted years ago to start reserves for a splash pad, and then 4,000 of that was fundraising last year.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Stimson.
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. So, Brandy, we still have that we're gonna still have that 9,000? I'm looking here and I tell you, I'm baffled with all this paperwork. I don't know,
Okay, well, let me just do a quick.
but the
review.
splash
So-
pad, it says 9,000, then it's got the next line, it says minus 9,000.
Yeah, so are we looking at this?
I was looking at this one.
Okay, so that's reserves, so that's showing the original balance, and then we're taking $9,000 out of reserves to put in the budget. So that will leave that reserve at zero.
You take, so that 9,000 is gonna be used on the splash pad next year?
Yes,
Okay,
this year.
this year, yeah, okay.
So when donations are made like that, they go into reserves and we can't use them for anything else. So that is why it's been sitting there for a while.
But if we're gonna take it out of reserves, do we have the rest of the money to pay for the splash pad?
We will. We won't do it unless the funding comes through.
Okay, so, but the 9,000 is still there, okay.
The 9,000, if it didn't happen this year for some reason, which I don't anticipate, but if that was the case, then it would go back into reserves and be held
Okay.
or when the project does go through.
Right. I'm just getting lost in this, on all these papers here, it's just, I'm one of Jimmy's buddies on this stuff.
Yes, Counselor Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. Brandy, under, golf equipment capital expenses, or expenditures, it says fairway mower and carts. Are we replacing all of the carts at the compound?
So I can speak to that. So we're looking at purchasing a fairway mower, and then we're investigating different options for the rental carts, replacing them either by buying gently used ones or leasing new ones or purchasing new ones. So yeah, we're looking at that right now.
And that will be happening this golf season?
Correct, yes.
Thank you.
Actually, Counselor, I just spoke with Linda Braun on her way out, and she's got a meeting tomorrow, she said, with people with the golf carts, and there was a voicemail on my answering machine with someone else that's interested in making some carts available as well too. So she has committed that they will be, the plan is they will be here in the new expanded and before golf season starts. And then we'll be looking to sell off the old ones.
That was my next question. Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. I'm seeing a skate park on the reserves draft, this one here. Like everybody else, I'm having trouble following along too, but would the $11,050 skate park, is this something that's been in the works, or have I missed that, or?
Oh, in 2019? Yeah, 2019, 5,000 was put into reserves for a skate park, or sorry, for a water park. And then now that the project is happening, there was fundraising the library did, and we received 4,000.
That's for the water park?
Yes.
But there's, like it says.
Oh,
skate
are you
park.
talking skate park?
Yeah, skate
Okay, I
park,
thought you misspoke. Okay, yes, so the skate park, we have $11,050 in for that. There's no project happening yet, but that's in reserves when and if it does happen. And that came from the skate park committee, and then we also had some money budgeted.
Was that donation money then, or it was just budgeted?
Just budgeted, well, both. So from the skate park committee, we received $75,2904, and then we had to refund some to the retired teachers because the project didn't happen. And then we budgeted $5,000, and then the balance is now $11,050
Thank you.
for future skate park, if that project ever comes to fruition.
Councillor Stimson.
I'm just wondering, Brandy, do you know, is there still a skate park committee going?
No, they folded, and that's why they gave us all the money to put into reserves to save for a skate park.
Oh, okay, all right. Doing that.
Brandy, do you have any more information or?
Depends on what you want to know. With this being a mayor's budget, it's a little different process. So if there are any, if we do nothing, then in 30 days, this would just automatically become the budget. Any revisions, I need to know what councils would like to do for any adjustments or revisions, and then I can make those changes and come back.
Councillor Stimson.
I'm just wondering, did we have to cut anything at all? Like, any money from, Public Works Director Umaga's budget or anything like that?
Yeah,
cut projects that, were supposed to be
no
done?
major projects. We did cut some from the sewage treatment plant, nothing else.
Yeah.
But
That's what I was kind of looking for, a sheet that said, well, okay, we took so much off this budget, we took so much off that budget, and, there's nothing like that, I don't think, like that.
No, so this year's a little different in the sense that because we already knew we were going down to 2%, the department heads came in with a low budget, like, well, I shouldn't say low, because it's a really big budget, but it's a lot of capital. But as far as operations go, they were already knew that it had to be.
So with this budget that we're looking at right now, the departments seem to think that that's enough to get them through the next year without any problems?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Again, it was a little easier budget in the sense that we've had so much extra revenue and debt reduction and
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Well,
It's
that's
an
what I was
easier
gonna
budget
ask.
than usual.
How come this budget is so quick and all the other ones we wait until June for? Like,
Well, because of the mayor's directive, it had to be done by February 1st, so it had to be. So it's,
we could do this every
It's-
year then.
it's a, not as, it's not as analyzed, and I don't have a lot of numbers in yet, so it's not gonna be as accurate as our normal budgets, but a budget is an estimate. So it's our best estimates, you know?
We can expect this every year then. Thank you.
The reason for me using my strong mayor's powers was, one was to have the budget out earlier, which we were, we've been talking about for years and years to have the budget out earlier. By getting the budget out earlier, that gives the department heads a clear vision of what they're going to do and how they're gonna spend their money. So when the budget gets passed earlier, they can start looking at contractors, they can start looking at projects and get them moving quicker, get a better price on things by being ahead of the curve. So that was the idea. And as kind of to Councillor Stimson's point, it seems like it's a fast way to do it, because I always wanted to get away from put in a budget and they put in all their wish lists and it comes in at 6.5 and then we say, we gotta cut this, we gotta cut that, this way they knew what they had to work with. They came in with what they needed, what they wanted, and it just expedited the process a lot better. And just looking at my only concern, or not really a concern, but there's so much capital and so much work that we're going to do that we actually get the work done, because we are putting a lot of money in. And I think to Tyler's point is he's going to be a very busy fellow to do these projects that that are on this list. So I think it knocks off a lot of things. A lot of departments are getting upgrades. A lot of public works money is being spent. The big one again is the Mackenzie Bridge, and that is one of the reasons why we put money into reserves, because we knew this was coming down. We're going to have to spend roughly $5 million to replace the Mackenzie Bridge. So we've been putting money. We've been putting the gas tax money, provincial and federal gas tax money. We've been putting money away so we can help fund this project. And Jason and I met with the parliamentary assistant for the infrastructure minister and looking for some extra funding for the bridge. And to his point is, you can save gas tax for 5 years, and you can put that money aside, which we have been doing, and that's really the province's contribution to it. I think it's $2.5 million of provincial money that's going into this bridge. So we are getting a lot of money. It is in reserves, and yes, we are taking out of reserves, but we put it into reserves with the thought of having to use it and saving it for this project. Yes, Councillor Lyons?
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. Just a question about the increase in tipping fees that we saw last year. How has that been distributed throughout this budget?
So last year's money went into reserves, and this year's is being used for this year's budget.
So it was spread across various lines in reserves?
No, it went into environmental,
Okay.
which is for the landfill.
Okay, so it's specifically, I'm sorry.
It's on this sheet, this.
On that one? Okay.
Reserve sheet, yeah.
Okay. Environmental.
So,
Okay.
that was always one of my concerns, is when we didn't spend the money. We had capital expenditures that didn't get done. It went back into reserves, and I really wanted to make sure that the money that we didn't spend on things that were approved last year made it into this budget this year, and that money would be spent, and if anything else had to be added. One of the things we have is demolition was $60,000. Wasn't all spent last year, so that money went back into demolition plus a little bit of a top-up. So it's not like we're putting a budget out for $70,000 of new spend. It's $60,000 of money that was already allocated and budgeted for last year. Yes, Councillor Lyons?
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. Following up on your comments regarding the demolition, will there be any additional funds added to that line item for this year? And do we have an inventory of what properties are slated for demolition for this upcoming year? Maybe a question for Jason or Brandy?
So the budget line is staying the same,
Okay.
and they do have a plan as to what buildings, but I don't know which ones they are.
Yeah, and Graham is on the line if something specific to him, but as Brandy said, Graham believes that the money budgeted this year will be enough that what we would be able to do this year. So as far as demolitions, there's a small list, and then as you said, it's always kind of ongoing, right? So when we'll look at tax sales and failed tax sales and stuff like that, then we would be looking at additional properties. But I think right now is the focus is the historical ones that we've talked about in the past, and having the money and getting that done this year.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Simpson?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Ferguson. Are we dipping into the Steep Rock rehab money that we've been accumulating at all to do any of these projects? Or is it still sitting there?
So last year's money went into reserves, and this year's money is being used in this year's budget.
Last year's money is in the reserves, and we're not touching it. We're just gonna use this year's money that we're getting from January on
For this year's budget.
for this year's budget. But how can we do that when we don't even know how much we're getting this year?
Based on the contract.
So.
A couple of questions. To Brian's point, all that, I call it free money, the tipping fees that we're getting from Steep Rock and the waste from Ballard. I would like the council to have a say on, like, have a wish list. I would like to see a greater majority of that money spent. I know we spend it for all the citizens of town, I know that, but I'd like to have council come up with ideas specifically for the citizens. You know what I'm not explaining myself.
Look at the capital projects. I think all the citizens in Atikokan benefit from these projects.
No, I see what you're saying, and I'm not making myself clear enough, so I would just like council, if you have got a wish list, would you like to see some of that money go to, bring it forth. That's all I'm saying. Question for Tyler. Tyler, I see under pits, aggregate shelter.
Yep.
Could you explain, please?
We are looking to purchase a shelter to store the sand and gravel in, so that we don't have to keep trying to hammer it open with the backhoe in the winter.
Good plan.
Thanks.
Good plan. I don't know who this one goes to, maybe Jason. I see there's a small amount of monies put away for the Tourist Bureau.
Probably just regular operating,
I'm sorry, I lost it, but I was wondering if that monies, like, there was quite a bit of volunteer labor. Can that group ask for some of that monies for repairs to or would we be stepping on the union's toes?
so there's no capital projects, I believe, budgeted for the Tourist Bureau. There's always money in M&S and such to do regular repairs and that, so we would have to look at what the ask is.
Because there is some really necessary repairs to be made out there.
Yeah, we can look at the list of repairs.
Okay, thank you. There's one more, but too many papers.
Thank you. I don't want to get ahead of you, Brandy. This, the 6-page one that you emailed us, are you going to get to this, or should we ask questions, or where are we at?
Questions, I wasn't really gonna get to it.
Okay, could I ask a couple questions then? Page 1. What is suspense, $2.9 million?
Okay, so that's probably prior year surplus deficit that we had used in that year.
Pardon me?
That was probably prior year surplus deficit. So generally, each year when we do the budget, we start out with whatever our prior year surplus was, and that goes into our budget and reduces our tax rate and tax ask. So,
Okay. Fire, can I go down a couple here?
yep, I just,
Fire vehicles, I'm guessing that's the fire truck,
yes.
the 800, okay. Bridges, that's pretty that's Tyler, that's 5.4 you got in there for that, or something like that?
And just to be clear, this one is budget over budget. There's no actuals in here. This is last year's budget versus this year's budget.
Okay. Public Works garage building, 242,000. Is that, what does that number represent? Public Works. This is page 3, by the way. They're not numbered, but right at the top it says dam repair and then go down to garage building, Public Works, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so there's a lot of renovations going on. There was last year and then more scheduled for this year.
And then Public Works equipment right below that, 463. Am I reading that right? Oh, no, sorry, that was last year's. 923,000 Public Works equipment.
Yeah, so this year it's 500 for a sewer truck, 40 for a hammer, 35 for a sander, a sidewalk sander.
Okay. Airstrip, 300 and, just down a little more, $346,000. What's happening there?
That is for crack sealing and pappies. So that's a light that the planes can see when they're flying in. Tyler can explain it better, I'm sure.
Currently we have,
That's an expensive light.
they're very expensive. So what we have right now are called Bassies. So they're they're 4 orange on the side of the runway, and they're set to certain angles. So when the planes are coming in, they know that they have their proper approach angle.
Right.
Unfortunately, just over the years, they've been damaged, and they're antiquated, and we can't even get anybody to come and recalibrate them or reset them. So this is just kind of the new version of that.
Okay, yeah. I used to fly a little bit, so when you get the right altitude, they turn green,
Bars there,
and you know
yeah.
you're in the right spot, hopefully. I see gas pump area here is 100,000. I keep seeing gas pump jumping out off of pages since I've been a counselor. What is that? The gas pump area, you're gonna clean that up or something, Ty, or?
Yeah, we're gonna do a fair bit of work there. We got some pretty significant repairs to make to that, so we'll clean it up and do the best we can with that budget.
Okay. Can I keep going? Sure. Thank you. Clinic building down near the bottom, 200,000. What's going on with the clinic building?
The major one for that would be repairs to the roof. We believe it's the air handler unit up top, not flashed properly, so we got that, and then we have some other miscellaneous repairs up on the roof, and then hopefully do a bit of flooring in the clinic there as well, and start kind of sprucing it back up a bit.
Okay, sounds good. I might have another one here. Page 4, recreation other, 1.129, 1.1 million, call it. What's that all about? Is everybody following along okay here? Okay. I hope I'm asking the right questions. I don't know, just,
Well, if you have a question, then you should ask it.
yeah. I didn't last year.
So, just to be clear too, so this sheet is operations and capital. So, I mean, the bulk of this is the splash pad and any recreation capital and recreation operations.
Okay, that's everything then.
Yeah, this is just kind of a combined, showing the changes year over year from each budget line.
Okay, and basically the last one I think is the sewage treatment plant, way down at the bottom, 1.5 million. That's probably, is that you, Tyler? 1.5?
Yeah, so the main project there is, we have just beside the RAS building, we have a few valves that are seized, so we're gonna have to get in and get those fixed. Sounds kind of easy, you know, on the high level of just switching a valve out, but unfortunately they're quite deep. And then just their location within the stream, we're gonna have to be bypass pumping, and those bypass pumps are very expensive to rent.
And you have to purchase those then to do all this project, yeah?
We have to purchase the valves, we'll probably be renting the pumps.
Okay, okay. That's all I had on the 6 pages. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. Water penalties. Randy, what's a water penalty?
Late charges or, well, mainly, yeah, late charges and interest for water bills that people don't pay.
So that's money we got coming in,
Yes.
okay? Because it's got a minus in front of it, right?
Yes.
Couldn't find a plus sign.
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. Just a couple of other general questions. Does this budget rely at all on any sort of one-time revenues for paying ongoing expenses?
Well, yes, I guess in the landfill especially. But yeah, every budget has some one-time revenues, like,
Okay, so if there's anything that we might need in future years, we'd have to look at alternate sources or cuts from somewhere else.
if you're talking about a program that would be grant funded that is no longer funded, then yes.
Okay. And if I may, just one other question. Do you anticipate us still being able to add to our reserves in 2026?
There's not a lot going into, are you talking at the end of the year, or are you talking in this budget?
At the end of the year or in the budget?
So both, yes. So off the top of my head, there's money from cemetery. Admin building. Cemeteries for the columbarium, and then the admin building is to reserves for the boiler. The fire truck, like the next fire truck. That's all that's coming to mind off the top of my head. And then at the end of the year, yeah, there's always usually either unfinished projects or extra revenue or projects that were really under budget that go into reserve.
Okay, thank you.
And just if I may, went over this with Jason and Brandy the other day, Thursday, and knowing Brandy and how she does it, she's very conservative on her revenue projections. So, and I kind of question some of that, and she give me her criteria on how she does it. So I'm confident that we're not looking at projecting something that's, you know, in the perfect world, this is what we get. I know she's very cautious on what we're getting. Just for one thing, it was golf revenue, and it was 71,000 last year, and I think this year she's projecting 64,000 or something like that. So I asked why it's less, and she gave me criteria. She takes a 5-year running average and averages that out. So just projecting on the lower side, and, you know, because I asked, we raised fees basically 10% across the board, and why is this year's projection less than last year's projection? And she gave me the criteria that it's, you know, based on a 5-year running average, and not getting ahead of ourselves and putting, you know, spending money that we're going on the best case scenario. So I was confident in that, as that we're not cutting ourselves short. We're projecting to be very conservative on our projections.
Good girl.
And you have to be careful sometimes, because you have years where things increase. Like the last couple of years, we've had a lot of construction, so our Bunnell Park fees have been up, our recreation fees have been up. So I do expect that again this year because of all the work that we plan, but you also always have to keep in mind the norm, you know, so there's always a lot of back and forth gone into these numbers.
Yes, Councilor Martin.
Thank you. I guess a question for Tyler, and it's not pertaining to this budget so much, but Tyler, the Public Works shop, everything seems to be probably outlived its lifespan, that old building that the guys are working out of. Is there any consideration, or is there any talk ever of maybe building something that you've got vehicles over in the industrial mall, you've got some over there, like everybody's kind of spread out of, is there any talk of ever of like building a more modern, energy efficient building for the guys that are doing all this important work?
Yeah, we definitely haven't planned on a new building for sure, but that's part of what we've been doing with the renovations, right? So we refinished the lunchroom, so it's much nicer now. We got a couple offices down there. We've insulated the Quonset, and we've put stores out there with a new office. So we've actually significantly increased. We've done a fair bit of work in the sewer barn as well, getting rid of like all the parts out of there and making it more functional. So we're kind of chipping away at, you know, what we have to work with.
Okay, yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I'd love a new building, but
If you haven't been there, and if you could arrange to have a look around with either Tyler or Kelly or Namo, there's like substantial work has gone on in the building, and with the removing the surplus equipment, like the yards it's cleaned up. We're storing equipment inside now, so we're not idling vehicles for 15 or 20 minutes, a dump truck or something before we go. A lot of them are stored inside, so, you know, we hit the ground running. So there's a lot of efficiencies. The stores, the Quonset hut for the stores is a great idea, and it's, you know, it really looks like something, and it's a lot more organized, and I think there's a lot of work that's gone over in the last year and a half over there.
big time, yeah.
That's good to hear, and it probably will bring the morale of the workers up too if they see that you're investing in their workplace. So that's great. Thanks.
Yes, Councilor Lyons.
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. A question for Jason or Chief Warburton. I noticed the budget line for bylaw was fairly minimal for this year. Are we still considering recruiting a bylaw officer?
Yes, so we are looking at upcoming, or current vacancies and upcoming vacancies and trying to figure out what that will look like moving forward. It may not, we haven't had a lot of success in the current position, so we're looking at trying to revamp that a bit for sure.
Okay, so should we be adding a budget line for that position and the associated expenses with it?
So we have, Graham has worked with Brandy and making sure that there's an overlap in labor, the line, not specifically to bylaw, but labor in that regard, so there is an overlap there.
Okay, perfect.
Something no one's asked, and I'm surprised they didn't, but under playgrounds, material and service, you'll see $15,000 for mulch. That's not a usual expense. So there are regulations about the certain type of mulch you need at our playgrounds. You can't just use, chips from Hydro or anything like that. So unfortunately, it's pricey stuff. It has to come from Winnipeg. But I think this will be the second time we've ever had to do it. So it's not often. It's a bit of an expense, but it'll improve the playgrounds, and we're looking to get that done this year.
And just to clarify these numbers also on the operating projects on page 2, that also includes, for most of them, the regular material and service budget. Like it's, the whole project doesn't necessarily cost that much. It's the whole budget line.
Thank you. To your point, Jason, so I've noticed that some places are using like a rubber mulch. Has that been explored a little bit, or is it not legal to use that?
So we did have our staff do some research in that, and then determine that the mulch that we're looking at is reasonable. I think when you get into the rubberized stuff, it's really, really expensive, right?
Okay.
So we felt this was appropriate for what we needed.
Thanks, that's all.
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. A question for Jason, I guess. Jason's been, a year, maybe 2 years that we haven't had a gardener, and that's been done with volunteers. And I see a budget of 17,215 in reserves. So that would be just like last year if the beautification needs any fertilizer or?
So, so the reserves, again, are kind of set aside for specific stuff, not general operating expenses. So we do have a budget line in the operating budget for operations expenses. So those funds would come out of that.
Okay.
If you had a specific project that would fit the criteria of beautification, we would go to council and see if they wanted to use those funds from the reserves, but we would leave them in there for that versus general operating.
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. And question for Tyler and Jason. Signage, I see we have a budget line for traffic signs, and we're looking at a little bit less of a budget for 2026. Beyond traffic signs, do we have a budget line item for just general signage for upgrades to them, whether it be replacement of posts or replacement of signs? Because a lot of them are pretty worn at the moment.
Yeah, that's what our signs budget is for.
Okay.
So that's for any signs around town that we decide to fix. Not so much the like highway signage or anything, but it's
Okay.
mainly.
I didn't know if traffic signs was like regulatory signs or if it was like information signage.
Oh yeah, it's not for information signage. I don't think there's a budget line for anything like that.
Okay, yeah, that's more what I was getting to.
So if museum curator Nagel wanted to put a new sign on the museum, then that would come out of the museum budget.
Okay, what
If they want to put a new sign at the community center, then it comes out of the community center budget. It's not a general sign budget line for across town.
okay,
I was kind of maybe referring to stop signs, street signs,
certainly.
what that would be for.
Yeah, that was my understanding too. When it came to signage, it was more a case of when you drive, especially when you drive in on Mackenzie, I didn't know if it would fall under beautification or something like that. But a lot of the signs are very worn, faded, outdated, and I didn't know if there was a budget line for the replacement or upgrade of those.
Yeah, there hasn't been a targeted effort in regards to a review or quotes or anything of that nature. Like the mayor said, it's kind of piecemealed on, you know, certain, you know, if we looked at, see, for example, the signage on Mackenzie going to Uptown, right? So the library, the museum, and that sort of stuff we've done. But if your question is, have we done a general kind of study of all those other existing signs? No, we have not.
Okay, thank you.
We do have $20,000 in reserve as well for economic development promotional signage.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. Question for Tyler. I'm glad to see this one. Public Works equipment.
Yep.
You gonna buy some new rigging?
Yeah, we are. And a new sewer truck.
Okay, right on.
Yeah.
Are you looking forward to replacing that old tandem?
No, I don't want to replace that old tandem. I love that thing.
Okay,
No emissions.
right? No computers. Thank you. So what's the next move?
Well, I need direction from a council, basically. What do you like? What do you not like? Do you want to make any changes? And then we figure out what we do from there, because if we leave it, this budget just becomes adopted after 30 days. If there are changes, no, 30 days. Okay, go ahead.
If council is in agreement, they can shorten the period. by
Yes.
resolution.
But if
Doesn't
we
have
do
to be 30
nothing
days.
in 30 days, this is automatically adopted. Council can, if council wants this budget, they can pass a resolution to change the dates, to shorten the time period. If council wants changes, then I need direction on what those changes are, and then can bring it back.
The reason for a little bit of confusion, because this is a whole new process, so we're feeling or finding our way on how this process works. Yes, Counselor?
If I may suggest, is there, did you say Thursday? This coming Thursday?
About what?
I thought you said earlier something about this coming Thursday.
30 days.
Oh, 30 days,
Okay, I'm sorry.
unless council chooses to change that.
What I would suggest, if we could have a week to go home and go over this, and if we have any questions, list those questions or get in touch with you. Because I'm not ready to sell it yet, if you know what I mean. Am I the only one like that?
You want to speak to that, Clerk Bates?
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. We were planning on adding this again to the committee of the whole meeting on Monday for discussion. So that's another week, so,
Jason said yes, okay.
yeah.
Thank you. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, I don't care, whatever is best for you guys.
I'm taking the mayor's job.
Sure. I do want to back up just a comment that you had made earlier, just for clarification. I absolutely agree with you that there's a lot of capital work in this budget, a lot of projects. We're very fortunate we're in a financial position to be able to do that. My only caveat is that the money can be there, the will can be there, and the design can be there, but if the contractor isn't there, if we can't get those people to come to town, if we can't have them bid a reasonable amount on these projects, we will not waste money just to have it done, right? We have to be fiscally responsible. We're trying to get the best value, and we're just trying to get these guys here. So we absolutely want to do this, and if the money's here, and like the mayor said, the money will be here early this year, which is great. We're going to hit the ground running. We're going to put a lot of pressure on the contractors, but we're competing with every other municipality in northwestern Ontario with a handful of contractors, and it isn't easy. It hasn't been easy, but we will absolutely do our best to get done as much as we can once given the go-ahead. So just a bit of a caveat when you think of the projects. Thank you. And then in regards to this process, yeah, we certainly don't want to rush you. The legislation as such, as Brandy said, that, you know, there is a 30-day, there's a bit of back and forth in regards to amendments, and the mayor has some opportunities to provide comment as well. We will have a discussion again next Monday, but at the end of the day, if you're generally happy with the budget, and if you want to speed up the process, as Clerk Bates said, you can speed up those timelines. We can get the budget approved and passed and get to work.
Yes, Councilor Martin.
Thank you. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. Is there money in the budget? I did not see it. Are we done with the culvert, or is that a different conversation for a different day? The overruns on the culvert, is that in here?
Our expected, everything we expect to spend this year is in the budget
Okay,
to finalize that project.
okay, thank you. Good answer.
And that was, again, Randy's very conservative numbers as well, so she doesn't go on best scenario, she goes on the other way, if anything. Yes, Councilor Lyons.
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. I'm just looking in here, is there a line for item for planning, especially since we need to get working on our official plan and zoning?
Yep, I believe we have 20,000.
Okay.
Let me find it here.
There's 22,000 in reserves for planning, and then I believe we have budgeted some as well. We typically always try and put money aside for work in that regard. Obviously, with the changes to the PPS and that, we haven't been able to get full circle on that. And I don't know how far we'll get on that this year, certainly, but you're right. I mean, that's long overdue.
We may need to have a discussion about what options are available too, in order to get that done.
Yep.
I think there's a few out there.
We can confirm the budgeted amount, but
Okay.
right in front of me, but.
Is there a number beside the line you're looking at? Because I'm having trouble finding it here. Oh, here we go, I found it. Yeah, so this year we budgeted $20,000 either to be used this year with any remaining to go to reserves. And then consulting fees and materials and service on top of the 20.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. This will be my last question. Brandy, we're finished with the Main Street payments.
Yes,
What was that payment a year?
around 400,000,
400,000?
give or take, like it changed every year, so.
Good job. Good job.
Jason and I were speaking about this just before the meeting, and in our debt is, we haven't borrowed in many, many years, and we've been knocking off some of these payments that we had to make every year, and hundreds of thousands of dollars that we were paying every year. Those are getting knocked off the list. So there was a big payment to OPG that we settled a couple years ago, and then the Main Street one now. So we are, looking at probably $1 million a year of payments that we're not making that we were making 3 or 4 years ago.
Wow.
So we are in a better position. And that's part of the ability to do these things where, if we were sitting in the old process and Tyler put out a new sewer truck, that might be something that we weren't able to do because we weren't in the position to do it. But because we've knocked off those 2 big payments in the last few years, because we're getting extra revenue, we are able to go and get some of this stuff that we've been pushing off year after year after year. So we are investing in the public works, we are investing in infrastructure, we are investing in recreation. I think there's, and to your point, there is something for everybody with this budget for the people in town are gonna, the sewer, the water, the roads, the recreation, there's gonna be just so much benefit for the people in Atikokan. And I know we don't see, when we repair water lines or we do an inspection on sewer lines, things like that, those are things that pay off in the future. So I think there's a lot in here for everybody. Yes, Councilor?
Not a question, a comment. This by far has been the easiest budget for me to be part of. And I would credit our mayor for giving a little kick, and Brandy for all your hard work in getting this prepared. I like the idea that we're gonna have the budget before the summer so we can get, like Jason says, the contractors to town to do the work.
Yeah, and I'd like to add that to the department heads as well, because it was a change for the department heads to have this information to Brandy probably by the end of last year. You had most of it, and that's something that, you know, we were always struggling with, so.
She says no.
Okay. Yes, Councilor Stimson, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. I'm just wondering, so if we've done this year, like this quick, can we expect it like this next year? And the year after, and the year after?
Yep.
If,
I would think so.
Sue is looking into that.
Oh,
Because we had to, used my strong mayor's powers.
but you proved that it's going to be done.
Yeah, I'm going to put my name in to run again, but I don't know when we go into lame duck if I can institute the strong mayor's powers being in lame duck before the election. But if I'm able to, if it's within my powers as still being mayor in August, I will look at doing this again for sure.
Even if you didn't have the strong mayor powers, if that was taken away or something by then, if we've done it once, we should be able to do it again.
Yeah.
And again, and again, and again.
And to your point, this was a tough year because this was a big change. So now we're more prepared for the big change. So department heads and administration can know what's coming forward. And, you know, they're not wrapping up this year's budget in August and then trying to roll into the next year, right? So once this is passed, or a form of this is passed, then we can start working on other things and we can start preparing for doing the same thing next year.
Burns pushed for this, past Councilor Burns pushed for this, just about every year she was on council, I think, to get a faster budget. Thank you. That's a good one.
Anybody else? Anybody else at that table?
Everybody's happy?
Okay, so I am out of town next week. I won't be here. There'll be somebody in this role. And you guys can study it for, and have a conversation next. And I won't be participating, but I will have email, text information. But I won't, my wife would kill me if I attended council meeting while we're on vacation.
Further to that point as well, any specific questions, feel free to email Brandy ahead of time. It just helps us become more prepared. Certainly bring them up at Monday's meeting, but it just helps when we do have that advanced knowledge, so appreciate that, please. Thank you.
Is there any information council would like brought to the next meeting offhand that, or anything you'd like to see?
No? Well, I'm sure when they get in their vehicles and driving home, they'll think of something. Yep. That'll come up, but Yeah, and like Jason said, if you could, the earlier the better, you can ask a question that way. You can get they can find the information or relay the information. All right. And we have a resolution moved by Councilor Lyon, seconded by Councilor Martin, resolved that this meeting do now adjourn. In favor? Carried. Thank you, everyone.